So, what is Entity Framework? Entity Framework is a tool we use to access a database. In other words, it is an Object Relational Mapper or ORM we use to map the objects of our application with the relational data. In the old days, before Entity Framework, we had to do all this mapping manually, which involved a lot of steps. For example, we used to open a connection to the database, execute a command, read the data, and finally remember to close the connection. However, with the introduction of ORM, we don't have to do this stuff anymore. So, we work at a higher level of abstraction with the help of Entity Framework. Entity Framework provides us a class called DB-Context, which is a gateway to our database. A DB context can have one or more DB sets, and these DB sets represents table in our database. We use link queries to query these DB sets. And Entity Framework translates these link queries to SQL queries at runtime. It means that we don't have to do this translation manually. All the stuff is done by Entity Framework behind the scene. So, Entity Framework is responsible for opening a connection to the database, reading of data, and it also maps the data to the objects and add them back to the DB sets and return the DB context back to us. As we modify, add, or remove objects in these DB sets, Entity Framework keeps track of these changes. And when we ask it to persist the changes, again, it will automatically generate SQL statements and execute them on the database. So, this is all about Entity Framework. If we talk about its workflows, then it has mainly two different types. One is database first approach, and the other one is code first approach. And I am going to cover these approaches in my upcoming videos. So, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you. In this video, I am going to let you know different kind of workflows that we have in Entity Framework. So we have three different kind of workflows. One is database first, second is code first, and finally we have model first. With the database first approach, as the name suggests, we start with the database. So we design our tables using visual designers, and then Entity Framework generate the domain classes based on the database that we have already designed. This is a traditional approach that a lot of developers have been using for years. In the code first approach, of course, we start with the code. So we simply create our domain classes, and then Entity Framework generates the database for us. This approach was introduced in more recent years and still new to many developers. And finally, we have model first approach. In this approach, we use a visual designer in Visual Studio to model our classes and their associations. These are basically some kind of UML diagrams. Based on these diagrams, Entity Framework generates some classes and database for us. That's all in this video. Let me know in comment section which type of workflow you are using in your current project. In the upcoming video, I'll show you database and code first workflows in action. So don't forget to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for further updates. Thank you for watching. In this video, as promised, I am going to show you database first workflow in action. So I am going to start with creating a simple table, and then I would have Entity Framework that generate a domain class based on that table. So let's get started. So here is my SQL Server Management Studio. Here I need to create a database first. Let's rename it database first demo and save it.
As you can see, I have created my database. Now it's time to create a new table. Just store some random data. As you see, I have added some columns in my table. So now the trickiest part of database first approach came into the picture. We have this database here locally, but in order to bring a different database like a test database or a production database to this version, we need a mechanism. There are tools that are available in the market with the help of which we can compare our databases and bring them to the same version. But in my experience, they are not always reliable and can sometimes cause issues due to dependencies between tables and records. So we are going to a manual approach in which we will create a change script every time we make a change to our database. Then we need to store that change script somewhere in our repository and run them on any database to bring them to current version. So in this demo, I am going to create a change script. Let's save this table with Control S. Let's give it some meaningful name and click OK. Now the pop-up on the screen is the change script that I need to run on my machine to bring the database on the same version. There is a format to save the change script. It should be with the sequence number and a description. So I am going to save it on my machine with some meaningful name like first is sequence, then a description. For example, create posts table dot SQL. Save it. Okay. So the table is ready. You can see it here by refreshing. See, here is our table. Great. Now jump to Visual Studio. Here, here the first step which we are going to do is creating a new project. Let's do it. Type of the project should be console application, and let's give it a name. Save it. Now in this new project, the first step we need to do is to install Entity Framework in our project. So for that, go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console. Here we need to run a command to install the Entity Framework. The command is install package entity framework with capital E and F. Hit enter. Great. The version of entity framework in my machine is 6.4.0 that you can see here. Okay. So now jump back to Solution Explorer. Just let's close it. Now jump back to Solution Explorer. Here we need to add a new item. Just click add new item. Select ADO.NET Entity Data Model. So this is going to be our conceptual model that represents the mapping between database tables and our domain classes. So I am going to give it a name as blog model. Enter. And in this window, I am going to use Entity Framework Designer from database because I already have a database. Hit next. And here we need to specify a connection to our database. Click on new. We need to fetch the server name. Now select the server name. It's time to select the database. It is database first demo that we have already created. Now by clicking on test connection, we can test whether the connection is established or not. In our case, it is succeeded. Okay, click OK. Next. So at this point, entity framework looks good at our database and discovers the tables, views, stored procedures, and functions. You can see the table posts that we had created earlier. So as of now, we just want to pull all the tables. So select it and click on the finish button. Here is our entity data model, which is stored in a file with EDMX extension. You can see the extension here. And here you see a class called post, which is exactly like the table I created earlier. Let's go to Solution Explorer. What you see here is all designer generated code. Let's expand the blog model first. And here you see blog model.context.tt file. Here TT stands for template, T for template. It's a way to generate code based on a template. Here you see blog model.context.cs file. CS is C sharp. So open it. This is the file that entity framework has generated for me. And you see that this class is derived from DB context. So DB context is a class that is an abstraction over the database. So it provides a simple API to load the data from or save it to the database. Now I scroll down a bit. Look, we have a property of type dbset called posts. Note that a dbset represents a table in the database. So because in our database we have a table called posts, this is the reason in my case we have dbset of type post called posts. Now this post class you see here is the generated code. Now jump back to the Solution Explorer. Now it's time to move to another generated code, which is blogmodel.tt. We see post class here. Let's click on it. Interestingly, you see that this class has all the four properties that our table had earlier. So the key thing here is we started with the database, we created our table, and then we imported that into our entity data model. So every time I want to make a change in my model, I start with the database, then I come back to my EDMX file or entity data model and refresh it. So this is how workflows goes on in case of database first approach. Okay. So now let me show you how we can use a DB context to work with a database, and this applies to both on database first and code first approach. So I'm going to close all the windows here and open program.cs file. Here I'm going to create an instance of our DB context class, which is called database first model entities. Let's create it. Now I'm going to create a new post and initialize it here. Here we are done with the initialization part. Now finally, I am going to add this post to our DB set. and save the changes. Context dot posts dot add the object that we have created. Now, till now, you see that the changes that we have done are still in our memory. Nothing is committed to the database yet. So let's call the context dot save changes method to save the changes permanently in our database. That's it. Run the application. Done. You see that here I didn't have to write a stored procedure. I didn't have to work with ADA.NET classes like SQL connection and SQL command. Entity framework took care of all of this for me. Now let's just verify it. Just jump back to SQL Server Management Studio. Refresh the tables. Click on the table that we had created earlier. Select top rows. Wait for a while. And here you can see the data that I just pushed during the creation of the object. You can just cross verify it again. These are the properties or sample values that I just assigned to the properties of an object and are stored in our table. So that's it from this lecture. In the upcoming video, I am going to do a demo on code first approach. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. In this video, I am going to show you the code first workflow in action. So let's jump to Visual Studio. Here I am going to create a new console application called Code First Demo. So similar to our last lecture, we need to install Entity Framework here. So for that, move to Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console. Here we need to write command install package Entity Framework, hit enter. Great. Now move back to program.cs file. Let me just move it. Here we need to create a new class called post. Here I have added few properties to this class, and you see that this class is exactly looking the same, the one that Entity Framework created for us in the another video. But in this lecture I created it by hand. Now in companion to this class I also need a DB context. Do you remember DB context? It is an abstraction over the database that we use to load our saved data. So let's create a class called blog DB context, which should be derived from DB context class. Okay, add a property here of type dbset. Basically, all we have to do here is to create a class that derives from DB context and exposed one or more DB sets. In this case, we are exposing DB set of post. Now we need to specify the connection string to the database. So jump to app config file, and here I am going to create a new connection string element and adding a connection there. Okay. For the sake of time, I have already done some configuration. Let me paste the code here. Okay, so I have given the name to my connection is blog db context, and then this is the actual connection string, and its name depends upon your server name. In my case, it is Vibhu and some digits. Okay, now we have two more things here. Initial catalog, which should be the name of database, and another is integrated security. In my case, I am using window authentication, so just type SSPI here. One more element that we need to add to our connection string is provider name, which should be system.data.sql client. Okay, now I am again going to package manager console. We need to enable code first migrations here. So in order to enable that migration, we just run a command enable migrations. Wait for a while. As you see, installation is done for my current project. Now, out of these few steps that I have done so far, like installation of entity framework, addition of connection string, and enabling migrations, these are the steps that we need to do only once. That's it. Every time we want to make a change in our model, we start with the code. So in this case, switch to program.cs file. For example, we create a new class here called posts, or if you want to modify it, these are some cases where we need to make those changes. Now, every time we make it a change to our model, we need to create a migration. So again, jump to package manager console. Here we need to run a command add migration. Here we need to specify a name that represents the kind of change we have made. For example, in this case, let's add create post because we are creating a new class here with a few properties. Hit enter. Let's see what happened. So I should go back to the solution explorer, and here you see we have got two files under migration folder. Okay, the first one is my migration file. Note that it has a date timestamp and a description, and this is very similar to the migration of script that we created manually in my last video. Remember, I had to create a change script there. This is exactly the same process but in a more automated fashion. Let's see what's inside this file. Open it. So interestingly, we don't need any SQL code here, and you can see that it is a plain C# code. There is one class called createPost which is derived from DB migration class, and it has two methods, up and down. Up method is used to upgrade the database, and down method is used to downgrade the same. So with code first migrations, we can take any database and take it to any other version. Okay, now let's see what's happening inside this method. Here we are making a call to a function called create table. It tries to create a table called posts with these columns. Here id is an integer, it is not nullable, and it is identity. Date published is a date time and it is not nullable, as you can see here. And we have two more columns, title and body. Both of them are of type string. And finally here there is a call to primary key method. It specifies that id column should be set as primary key. So the interesting thing here is entity framework uses conversion over configuration. So when it looks at our model, in this case our post class, based on the name and type of our properties, it can figure out how the database should look like. For example, it knows that ID is typically used for the primary key and often it is an identity column. So it automatically added these exceptions here. So we created a code first migration. The next step is to run it. When we run it, Entity Framework looks at the database. It takes the current version, which I'll show you later, and then figure out what migrations need to be run on the database to bring it up to date. So to run the migration, we again jump back to Package Manager console. Here we need to run a command package update database. Hit enter. After running this command, let's see the result. I am going back to Management Studio. Here I am going to refresh my databases. Here you see code first demo. It was created based on our code. I haven't write any SQL code to create the same. Now let's expand it and see we have posts table here. Let's check out the columns. See, these columns are exactly like the one we created in database first demo. So as you saw with the code first workflow, we simply focus on our code and let Entity Framework take care of generating or migrating a database for us. That's it from this video. In my upcoming video, I am going to give you a comparison between database first and code first approach of Entity Framework. Thanks for watching.